Hello, this is Ronald Bourgeois, and you're watching SkilletSkills.com. Hello and welcome to another episode of SkilletSkills.com. I'm Chef Ron. Today I will show you how to make a basic roux, which will probably proceed into a simple gumbo. Let's get started. Now gumbo can be very complicated. I've made enough of it in my life to tell you that there are simple recipes and there are intensely involved recipes. I've made gumbo for large groups, and typically it's because it's a portion control thing. It's not very expensive and almost everybody likes it. Chicken and sausage gumbo, what's not to like? There's another version called seafood gumbo. It's a little bit more complicated. What we're going to show you how to do today is how to make the roux, and then if in the interest of simplicity, you guys that haven't cooked before or very little experience, I'll show you how you can put together a fantastic gumbo and not really spend hardly any time doing it. All right, you're going to start off with buying the right sausage. You can find these type of sausages on sale in the store. Sometimes there's always a loss leader brand. You'll see the expensive ones, and then you'll see the competitors usually right next to it. But this is what they look like. They're dark, like a chestnut color skin on them, and look like they're real solid and not loosely grained. So it's a dense sausage. What you want to do is cut them on the bias so that there's a lot of surface area. You don't want to do all your cutting fast because you're not really impressing anybody. It's just you in the kitchen. But just put this angle to your knife and cut it on the bias like that. Sausage comes out and it'll look good. It'll cook easily with all that surface area. This has got a little bit of jalapeno in it, you can see. Little green flecks in there. And the first thing you do with gumbo is you make a sausage stock. If you remember, in previous episodes we made a chicken bone broth, which took about 2 days to make. You save the chicken bone broth because it's crucial to use something like this with a flavor intensity instead of water in a gumbo. So what we're going to do is take these sausages, we're going to add them to some water on a little pot here, and we're going to make a sausage stock. And we're going to just go ahead and cut up all these sausage, and then make our stock. It didn't take very long to make it all. And there's two types of stocks for gumbo. You have your chicken bone broth, which is a stock, and then you have a sausage stock. So even though we're saying it's a very simple recipe, you know, two stocks, that's kind of complicated, but not really hard to make. So all you do, turn them on and let it heat up. When it comes to a boil, turn it down a little bit, and you have this going while you're making your roux. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and just learn how to make a basic roux. Very simple cast iron, Dutch oven. You want to go ahead and let it heat up. It takes a little while to heat up. So while we're letting that heat up, I'm going to show you the parts that are going to go into this, the pieces of chicken. When you cut this chicken for the gumbo, what I did is I just bought a rotisserie chicken. And I took the skin off because the skin seemed a little moist. And sometimes you see rotisserie chicken with the skin, it's golden, but it's moist and still kind of slippery. You don't want that sitting in the broth in the gumbo. It doesn't really taste good, so take it all off. Take all the skin off and split your breast down the middle, and then just take your knife after your breast is split down the middle and start cutting up the sides of the chicken. And if you want to take some of the bones out, you can, or you can leave a few in. I've got a piece like this right here, which is part of the back area. Left some of the bones in. It's good for flavoring in something that's going to be boiling on the flame for a long time. And I know that the cameraman and I are the only ones that like, out of the family that are going to be eating this, is only ones that like dark meat. So This is something you can buy also. It's a rotisserie with just legs and a thigh. So you leave it all, I'm leaving it all together because we're the only ones that are going to eat it. No need to cut it up. But if you were to have to cut it up, it's right here where this crease is. You just go right down the center and cut it at the joint, and you separate that and put all that in there. Now, the reason I'm leaving the skin on is that this kind of sat under the lamp, and it looks like it's not old by any means, but it's definitely drier, and it'll be okay to let that sit in the water. Roux rejuvenates anything. So this is going to be part. I like these pieces to be big, rustic, and to have as much of the bone on it as you possibly can. Okay, let's get started with our roux. First thing you want to do, now what I do, is I add a little bit of olive oil. Because butter just by itself in these roux, that too high temperature burns a little easier. It's easier to control it with some butter in it. Plus with the butter, which is about like a half stick that you want to put in. And if you're just using butter, you want to use a little more than this, a full half stick. This is like half of a half stick, sliced a little thinly. But I've added olive oil, so that makes up the difference. And if I need more difference, I'll just throw more olive oil in. And then about a half a cup of equal amount of flour. You put in right at the beginning and start swirling it around here and just getting it going. Gumbo roux, when it's starting to come to form, it smells like roasted peanuts. I don't know how it happens, but maybe it's the butter and the flour where it mixes together. It does. It starts to smell like, the browner it gets, the more of a peanutty smell you get. Now, there's going to be a stage this gets to where you say to yourself, oh, it's going to burn if I go any more, and I got to take it off. Don't take it off. You want to resist, keep stirring and making sure that you're getting it right to the point where it could burn, but it's just not. And then it'll have the most intense peanut smell. It'll have the darkest appearance. See, a lot of people take gumbo off when it looks like an old penny. When this roux starts to look dark like an old penny, that's when they'll pull it off. I don't take mine off till it looks like almost like milk chocolate. But to do that, to get that close to it, you have to be really on top of it. So you just keep a motion on it to where no part of this is allowed to sit for too long. I mean, you could do that, okay, and then start stirring, and you could, but as you see, as it gets really to the critical part, you got to really stay with it, and then kind of check your flame. Right now, this is where I cook roux all the time. You can go a little bit lower, but if you want to be here till Christmas, do that. But usually, just leave it at a medium. If you really know what you're doing, you can do it at medium high. That's good. So here it's starting to. Now I want to talk to you about what's going to happen, because you don't have much time. Once this gets the right color, you got to cool this stuff off because it will continue to cook. So you immediately turn off the flame, and you add what they call your aromatics: celery, bell pepper, and your onion. That's the Cajun trinity, and I'm going to tell you a Chinese trinity had cornstarch, white wine, and soy sauce in almost every recipe prep. This is with vegetables. And look how it's developing some color back here, and you can start to smell it. You smell that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gets a nice. Now at this point, I want to turn it down. Just you don't want to risk. Turn it down a little lower, so you can go a little longer. Because the longer you go with this, the closer you're going to get to that milk chocolate. This is not quite milk chocolate, but we are getting close. And also in the very last seconds, add just a little bit of oil. It'll help you go a little more. Don't go too much longer though. This is Starting to get good. So you get about this color into your roux, and we can go ahead and add our vegetables. You got your bell pepper, onions and celery, a little more onion. Need a decent amount of onions. Mix it around quickly. Turn this off. Okay. Now we can start watching our sausage stock. It's starting to foam up here. And get that on a little lower. It's just starting to buzz. No need for it to. Stir your roux around. Okay, now let's add just enough of this to mix this up and make it incorporate a little bit. And you put a little more. This is, you see these fat globules in here. This is because this is a homemade chicken bone broth, and it absolutely makes anything you cook with it just delicious. And really all you've done now is taken some flour and some butter, a little bit of olive oil, and made a roux. That's all you've done. Previous to that, you've cut up a rotisserie chicken, pulled the skin off the slimy part and kept the dry skin, you know, and you've cut it up into rustic, but rustic size means you keep it mostly whole and cut up what needs to be cut up, like the big giant chicken breast needs to be cut up. And that's what you see here, all the breast pieces that we cut. But we left the thighs whole, all these thighs and legs whole, because you just don't have to cut those up.